So I'm going to sit and watch the video now, and yeah, I will just pause it and we can talk about it as it goes along, anything that I see. I'm literally just going to be watching it on my laptop here, but yeah, you won't see that, so I'm just going to sit here and watch it and then we'll have a chat as it goes along. Hi, I'm Casey aka Queso, and today's video is all about exactly what it is like to be a student nurse, the truth about student nurse life. Okay, first of all, can I just say that I am proud of this girl. Like, I'm looking at myself now, I'm so pale. I've literally been decorating in the house, so I've got paint in my hair, but I washed it yesterday, so I'm like annoyed and I don't want to wash it yet. You know, she's got her makeup on, her hair's looking really good. Meanwhile, a year on, I am pale as anything, no makeup on, no nothing. So considering this me was on placement at the time, like, respect, I'm very proud of her. But anyway, let's get back into it. It's been on for 8 seconds, sorry. So yeah, first of all, obviously the pros of being a student nurse. I don't know the pros yet of being a qualified nurse, because I do think it's quite different. You do have a big transition from when you go to student to qualified nurse. So yeah, but as a student nurse, basically it's like, I'm only 21 and some people start the course when they're 18, like I started when I was 19. I feel like maybe I'm saying that because I'm just kind of emphasising that it is quite a hard and challenging course, like I think more than people realise, and the fact that so many students are starting out 18, 19 and things doing the course, sort of the emotional and stress toll and even the responsibility like can take its toll on you quite a lot, and I don't think a lot of people realise that. I think that's why there's a lot more mature students in nursing versus other courses, because, you know, going out on placement and things and the things that go on, and that is very different to your average degree course. As I know, because I did psychology for a year, it was nothing like this, you know, it had its own really, you know, stressful things, and I had a lot of responsibility in other ways in that, but just the emotional toll is completely different when you're nursing. But yeah, I mean, I'm going back now in September, I'll be like 23 3 months later, so I have kind of drawn it out a bit. I mean, I think when I started I wasn't really ready. I wouldn't have been ready at 18. Like, I know a lot of people in my class who are 18 and I don't think I'd have been ready at all, especially given the fact I wouldn't have had that experience of growing up a bit and going to live in Liverpool for a year. But even now, like, I am very nervous about qualifying and things, and I think this gap year, sort of postponing it another year in a way, that has been partly why I've done it, maybe, because yeah, I do feel a bit young to be doing it, although in other ways I feel dead old, but you know what I mean, like, it is a lot of responsibility when you're quite young. Basically, you get a lot of amazing placements, and you get to like be a part of things that a lot of people don't get to be a part of, things that you feel are really sort of like being a children's student nurse, which is what I'm specialising in, because there's either adult branch, child field branch, mental health, and then learning disability branch. So I'm children's nurse, and currently, as an example, I'm working in a children's hospice. And basically there's children with all sorts of conditions, a lot of conditions I'd not even heard of, and obviously everything's really highly confidential, and it's for a reason, and it's just shows as well that you are getting to look after and help make a difference to these children that, you know, there's so much confidentiality and security around it. Just sort of emphasises that not everyone is able to do this. Not everyone is able to just go in and see these children and look after them and things. So you do, like, I feel quite get emotional, so you're just talking about it. But like, you do feel really privileged to be a part of their journey, and like helping them, and you just think like, wow, like I'm just being allowed to come in here like other staff members, and I'm allowed to, you know, help and do all these things. God, that's actually like made me emotional now. Like, oh God, I feel more emotional now. I feel really weird now. Like, why am I getting upset? I don't know. I think it's just because, like, I had no idea really when I came onto this course of like how it would actually be. And it has been so much better than I ever thought. Like, the position that you're in as a nurse, it is absolutely amazing, and like most people don't get to do what nurses get to do, you know, and it really like means a lot to me that just thinking some of the things that I have been through, that, you know, on placement there has been children that have passed away, and children that are very, very poorly, and things like that, and obviously it's part of the job, but I feel emotional not only that they have been really poorly and that they've passed away. I mean, obviously that's the worst part, but you do have to get used to it. But I feel emotional because of like actually being there, like, and helping the family and helping the child, and like it is like astonishing to me that me, Casey, who's just, you know, to me I don't feel like special or important, but then like I've been able to be a part of like such a major journey in a family's life, and yeah, it really does, it does just make me emotional, to be honest. But yeah, it's such a privilege, and like you're so lucky if you get to do a job like this, and I think it's important to always remember that, you know, never just become complacent to it, and just get overtaken by the stress and things, because it is very stressful. I've met a lot of nurses that are really overworked and really tired and really stressed, but yeah, like, I just think it's important to always remember and have gratitude for the fact that we're there and able to help people at their biggest time of need. Yeah, it's just amazing, really. I mean, yeah. Okay, let's carry on. Being a student is good because you get lots of experience in lots of areas, so you realise how vast nursing is. So like when I applied, I sort of was just thinking, oh, nursing like on a ward in a hospital, and although I absolutely love that, and at the moment I think, you know, I'm going to want to be in a hospital, especially at the beginning, it's not just that. And you know, as I say, I'm in a hospice at the moment. Obviously there's different areas in a hospital, there's specialist wards, there's accident and emergency, there's special care baby units. I just want to quickly say as well, I was absolutely terrified for my A&E accident and emergency placement. I was just so nervous about, like, because I am squeamish, it's ridiculous, I know, but I hate blood, and that's something I'm struggling with and having to try and overcome on placement. But yeah, when I went on A&E, it was such an eye-opener, and honestly, the nurses, the doctors, everyone there, they couldn't have worked any harder. I was there for 3 weeks, and not one shift did I ever think, oh, that person's slacking, or they're not passionate about their job or anything. That they were absolutely amazing, and I just want to say to people that, you know, if you are stuck sitting outside in the waiting room in A&E for a prolonged period, then you should be grateful and happy, because through those doors, usually the reason is because there are so many people already have been taken into A&E, they're lying in the corridors in beds, they're in minors, majors, and resus, every time I was there, nearly was completely full of people who'd had heart attacks, car accidents, you know, people who were palliative care, elderly and things like that. And so, you know, there's always so much going on behind the scenes that you don't realise, and it's so busy. And if you're in a position where they feel it is safe for you to still be in the waiting room and to sit there for a certain period of time, then I know it's frustrating to be sitting there, but honestly, just try and be grateful, because the people that are rushed straight through, they're literally, you know, they have a life-threatening condition or injury and it's awful, and I would always rather be sat there waiting than to be rushed through, because if you're rushed through then it shows that you really have a severe problem. You've even got a lot of community nursing, so I've been out with a school nurse and they're dealing with primary age children, high school children, the mental health services I've been working with, health visiting, and then I've been out with quite a few charities and things as well that, you know, school nurses, not school nurses, sorry, just children's nurses can be a part of and help with. I'm trying to think, have I been anywhere else? Obviously there's outpatients and things, there's specialist community nurses that specialise in like epilepsy or like oncology, things like that, and you just like, you don't even realise, like when you're starting the course, obviously I knew what nursing was, I knew I wanted to be a children's nurse, but you just get your horizons broadened so much, and that has been like one of the best things as well, because it's been like so exciting for me, like coming onto the course and realising that what I've gone to do and what I wanted to do is even so much bigger and better than I like imagined at the beginning. There's so many paths, there's so many choices, there's so many different ways that you can help, different specialities you can have, and that as well, you know, it really makes you feel lucky that when you have this qualification at the end, the doors that hopefully are going to be open to you. It's just amazing, yeah. And I love sort of as a children's nurse, you see like the impact that you have on the child that you're looking after or working with, and then also, you know, seeing how you can help vulnerable parents and families, because it's a lot about, you know, caring for the whole family in children's nursing. It's nice seeing an impact on like a wider family, or especially as you like go through the course and you learn more and more, feeling like you do have that confidence to give people advice or information or reassure them about things, and you know, that's really nice. So yeah, at the same time there are some downsides to being a student nurse, and those are sort of what has led me to make this video. Bloody hell, I'm a bit nervous now. We're only 6 minutes in of a 21-minute video and I'm already going to the cons. I've just been crying about how amazing it is, and now I'm going to the cons already. But as I say, it makes me realise that I think I was in quite a negative mindset at this exact time that I filmed it. I mean, it's probably one of those where the next morning I woke up and I was like, why was I even like upset or stressed or worried about this? Like, I was just really overtired and stressed and things. But yeah, we'll see what I have to say. I hope it isn't 15 minutes worth of cons, but we will see, because like right now I don't associate hardly any cons at all. But I don't know if that's just because I've kind of forgotten some things that can be difficult as a student nurse, because I've obviously been off for a year. So maybe this won't help me for going back. Maybe this will make me feel worse, but let's see what happens. I mean, that sounds really bad. Like, I want to emphasise the good bits, but also I think sometimes people might not understand what it's like. So basically you have 6 months, well, this is what my university is, and I think most are pretty similar, so it's 50-50 basically, placement and university work. So it's with my university it's like 6 months of lectures and yeah, all that, lectures Monday to Friday, like 9 to 5 or like 10 to 4 or something like that. And then 6 months of placement, which is then full-time, 37.5 hours a week, 12.5 hour shifts. I'm lucky enough that I'm in Wales. I get the student bursary, so that is really good, but at the same time, you know, it's still not that much, you know, and you don't get actually officially paid for your placement, even though it's full time, which, you know, I don't have a problem with, because all nurses have done the student bit and that's, you know, what you do. But sometimes it can be tough for people. There's a lot of people in my class that actually are older and they have children, families themselves, so they've basically lost an income by coming onto the course because they want to be a nurse. Yeah, that's the thing. The government goes on about really needing nurses and things, but they don't realise that when it is such a draining course that often takes older people, like more mature students, to take it on, that they are basically penalising a huge portion who would love to be a nurse because they physically can't do it. So as I said in this, a lot of people in my class last year were parents, they had children, and they lost a whole income to do this course, whereas they'd been working full-time before. And I think, imagine, you know, if you were a single parent and things, I don't know how that would even work, how you could even possibly do it. And it is really disheartening, and it is sad. Like, even if it was people who were of a certain age or have a certain amount of children and things like that, if they got paid, even I don't need to be paid the same at all, and I wouldn't really expect it. But I do think that there should be some sort of scheme to help older students so that they can actually become nurses and do what they want to do, because I do think it really stops people from being able to access this course and this career. And I just want to say, I think it's absolutely awful that in England, and I'm pretty sure soon enough it's going to be in Wales, that they are scrapping paying the nurses who've been helping during coronavirus, because I mean, they have chose to opt in to do that. And yes, it's a great learning environment, it's a great learning experience, but it is stress times like 1,000, I can imagine, from things I've read, things I've seen. So for them to take that on, I know at the moment coronavirus cases are much lower, so they're saying that student nurses can be supernumerary again, but I feel like when placements are only till August anyway, student nurses really do deserve to be paid until that end of August when they've been working, because the things they've been having to deal with during this, when they're a student and, you know, they don't know everything and they might have been sent to wards that they would never usually work on. I just think it's absolutely disgusting, to be honest, that they've been stopped getting any payment. And yeah, so I've got a part-time job as well, as I'm sure I've talked about plenty in other vlogs and videos by now. But so I work in a pub, and I usually do like one shift a week, and that's really difficult as well for like my manager, because I'm always having to send my rota for placement, because it's just random. You just follow the rota of your mentors. There is leeway, you know, if you've got a big event you can try and move a shift and things, but you know, generally you've got to stick to what your mentor's doing. So that can sort of, you know, obviously it's unsociable at times. You do night shifts like 7:30 at night till 8 in the morning, and then day shifts are 7:30 in the morning till 8 at night. And then yeah, so trying to sort my shifts for the pub, I feel kind of guilty sometimes, because I'm like, oh, I can't do then, or I can't do then because my rota's changed for placement or whatever. But so also it's working full time, and then it's working, although it's only usually one, sometimes like I'll do 2 shifts as well. In the pub it's full time and then part time, so that's even more hours. The university assignments as well, you have to write during placement time, so you learn it all in the university time when you have lectures, and then you're working full time. Some people working part-time, and then you're doing your university assignments, and some people have families. Like I only really look after myself, so, and my guinea pig, so I can't complain, you know, in that sense really. But yeah, it's just sometimes it is a lot. God, yeah, no, but I am putting myself off a bit at this point. Like, I'm a bit nervous going back, especially when I've had this time where I wouldn't say I've been doing nothing. Like, I think I have used my time as best as I can being stuck in. I haven't had much choice about being stuck in. But yeah, I think it will be a bit of a shock going back and suddenly having assignments when in next February, going on placement, working. I'm still going to be working in the pub. I'm going back there as soon as I've moved house. So yeah, it is a lot, but I do like keeping busy. And as I say in this video, a lot of people have a lot more responsibilities than me, and you know, I can imagine they try to work even more hours part-time just to make ends meet, because they are losing a finance by being on the course. So again, I just really think it is unfair for those older students who have families and things. I'd say obviously, you know, my main and my closest friends I've still got all around me, and as much as I can I'll see them, but genuinely from starting this course there are people that I've just sort of lost touch with, because I literally can't message and arrange to meet up, like especially with Reese now, my boyfriend, and then like my closest friends that I try and see as much as I can, there's literally no time to see many people at all. So I have sort of fallen out of touch with some people because I'm just so busy, there's just no time. And even my closest friends, sometimes I feel quite guilty because sometimes I won't be in touch for a while, or I'll have to rearrange something, and it's not obviously because I want to meet up with them and things, but it's just can be so demanding and things. So yeah, God, that making me emotional as well, because, you know, I do feel quite guilty sometimes on friends. Yeah, and family. Hardly see my parents. I live with them, hardly see them. Because I've grown up with them my whole life, so if I'm not working, then I'm seeing friends or seeing Reese, and then I see them when I can. But yeah, to be fair, I should probably do a bit more with them, considering I'm living here as well. At least I've caught up on that time with them now, because obviously we've been in lockdown together. So yeah, that is basically the how demanding the course is a downside. Some people might not be prepared, and also when people are starting at like 18, 19, you've got other friends who are on university courses that are only in like 10 hours a week. I'm not saying all courses are like that, but I studied psychology for a year before, and although the content was quite difficult, the assignments were difficult, I literally was in like 10 hours a week. I could go out every night if I wanted, like drinking, things like that. So you do get more social, like free time, and I'm not living in student accommodation anymore, but I know some of the people on my course are, and instead of being like, oh yay, there's a party, I'm gonna go on a night out and things like that, they get more annoyed at people in the flat being noisy, because they're like, oh, I've got a shift at 7:30 in the morning, or so, you know, although you're like still sort of young and a student, it's hard to do stereotypical studenty things. Yeah, I definitely think that for younger people coming on this course, that can even be something that puts them off from continuing, because they have this idea of going to uni and making lots of friends, going to parties, nights out, you know, especially if you're living away from home, and they get on this course and they realise they have no free time, they're tired, their flat is keeping them up when they're on night shifts and they're sleeping in the day and things like that, and it's really difficult and frustrating. And I can imagine some young people do drop out of the course because it just isn't what they expect out of a uni life. Like, it isn't the same as other courses really. So I suppose that the other downside is obviously with nursing there is going to be sad things that you witness. There's also, like, I'm quite an emotional person, so I can get sort of nervous, or I can get quite stressed quite easily, or quite upset quite easily. So, you know, I do struggle sometimes with like my stress. Like, I'll start feeling a bit like faint, a bit hot and sick sometimes. Like, it's not like that very often, and it's usually just because my body overreacts. It's not always something major, but yeah, no, I am lying there when I say that. When I said it's not very often, it is very often, and that is probably my biggest like issue with placement, and like what I'm most worried about with going back, is because like I'm squeamish, and then if I see certain things it makes me feel faint, and then also I think part of it is like the worry of that, and also because I'm quite emotional, if things are stressful, again I start to feel faint, and it's the worst feeling in the world that there's all these people that are really doing really well, they're handling it really well and coping really well, and also they're obviously dealing with a child whose needs are far greater than your own, and you don't want to be a hindrance, and you're just terrified that you're going to pass out or something like that, and you just don't want to be embarrassed, and you don't want to annoy anyone, and you just wish you could be the same as the other nurses who seem to find it easier. I mean, I'm sure they don't, but you know, that's how I have felt in placement, and it is difficult, and I'm getting emotional again, so I'm just gonna press play. But you know, if I go in somewhere like a new placement, I'm really nervous, or you know, or you go in and you see children with conditions you've not seen before, it can be quite daunting. Or if you see a really unwell child, or a really anxious or upset parent, you know, they're all things that can really affect you. And also because it's confidential, it's hard to discuss it with people, because you're not allowed to like give them any detail, or you know, even if it's like even if you could, they're not going to understand it that well if they're not in that line of work. I mean, obviously people understand like what it's like being stressed and nervous and things, but just the exact sort of situations or is sort of hard sometimes to like explain. So yeah, that is something, but it's something that comes with nursing. It's something you got to expect. And also as I said at the beginning, that was making me like most emotional, just sort of how fulfilling it is and like a privilege that it is to do. And there's so many like happy moments, there's so many amazing moments, and like I have felt proud of myself in situations, and that's really nice, because I will feel like I've done a good thing, or I've done my best, or I've helped someone, and obviously that's just what I'm going out to do. That's what I want to do when I'm doing everything that I'm doing. Yeah, I'm so glad I said that, to be honest. Try and be so grateful for all of the positive moments that you get and all the times that you're able to help people or like have a lasting effect on a family, things like that, because it is incredible. And the downsides, if you can call them that, they are always outweighed by just the amazing moments that you get to have in this job that you'd never would in a lot of other. Firstly, I suppose it's just emphasising, and I'm trying to remind myself now, just make the most of these student years, enjoy them, that you've got flexibility, that you can sort of go with a few mentors or follow a few certain people, or you can ask to go to a certain place more if it's something that you're really interested in, and just soak up every experience, because some places you might only go once. There were things that maybe I wouldn't have chosen to do initially, or I would have felt that I wanted to do, but if someone offers you to do something, then if you can, then please do it, because I have found that I've learned so much more, or even done things that I have realised I actually really like doing and like being a part of, that beforehand I was scared of and wouldn't want to do. I'm just reminding myself to be grateful all the experiences that I get, even though by doing this video I'm actually working tomorrow and it's quite late now, so I'm going to be probably a bit regretful about this in the morning when I've had not much sleep. That's another thing, you don't get much sleep. Personally, I as well sleep bad before every shift, because I'm like, I've got to get up, I know I've got to get up, especially if it's a new placement. I'm like, oh my god, it's a new placement, I'm really nervous and I've got to get up, so I just can't sleep, and then I wake up loads. And so yeah, sleep you won't get much of as a student nurse. Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny that I've just said in this oh, I've done this video even though I'm working tomorrow and I might regret it and that. The point is, if someone says, oh, do you want to come over for a bit, or do you want to go for a meal, or, I mean, this is a weird example, I guess, of me making this video, but if there's something you want to do between shifts, if you can muster the energy, if it's really something you want to do, then do it, because I do think sometimes as well, when you've been on a lot of shifts, people can be like, hey, do you want to do this, or want to go here, and it is the last thing that you want to do, because you're so tired and you're so fed up and you just need to recharge before your next shifts, and you think, I don't want to bother. But usually if you did what you actually wanted, or if you did what people are asking and went out and things, you wouldn't regret it, and you'd be happy and glad that you went out. It's nice to have a change of scenery, it's nice to do things to take your mind off it when you come home, and just to make sure you're still spending time with people when you can. And then even like me doing this video, just try and do things that you want to do in between shifts. But it's definitely something that I'm really glad that I chose to do, and I think when I chose to do it, I didn't even, from what I've learnt now coming to the end of my second year, I didn't even know, I knew such a small portion of what children's nursing is, or what you can do with children's nursing. I didn't have a clue really, when I think now of how much I've learned and all the experiences I've had, and I was so keen and excited then, so it's just been even more than I could have hoped or imagined. And one thing getting me through is that, at least at first, when I'm sort of probably still just paying and caring for myself when I finish uni for a bit, I'll feel like I can chill a bit more, because obviously at the moment I'm working full-time, working part-time, doing uni assignments, but at the end I'm just going to be doing working full time, coming home, not having a part-time job as well, not doing uni assignments. So whereas most uni students, I think they sort of can come out and be like, oh my god, I'm working full time, I got all these responsibilities, like after having a bit of more fun, although obviously the uni works really hard, they get a bit more time to just like have some fun and things. They might be a bit more daunting coming out of uni, but I'm like, well, it's going to be the other way around for me, like, and I think that's a good way to do it, because uni is obviously shorter than working life, and working life gonna be a doddle. Like, I know it's not, I'm gonna eat those words because I'm sure the pressures as well go like 10,000 times higher when you're actually qualified and everything is your full responsibility. But yeah, and I am really excited. I'm excited to get to the end of this. I just want to get stuck in, you know, and be a qualified nurse and get into it. Obviously I know I've still got a lot to learn, so I'm grateful for this year coming up. But at the same time, I just, you know, I just want uni to be done now. I just want to be a qualified nurse. I mean, clearly I wasn't, because I ended up going on a gap year. So I don't know what really changed between this point and then when I went on a gap year. I went on the gap year because I did want to get more experience, like on the bank it's called, where you work like agency basically as a healthcare assistant in the hospital, and it means you can get a lot more experience on wards and working with patients and things, because at the end of the day you only get like 3 lots of 6 months as a student, so it's a year and a half I guess of working. But honestly, when you're going to so many areas, it's not a year and a half in one area. Some areas it's literally a few weeks and that's all you ever get. And I do think a lot of people, particularly in my class, had already worked on the bank as a healthcare, or worked as just a healthcare assistant before the course, and I kind of thought that going on a gap year would help me even overcome my squeamishness a bit. I plan to go on A&E. That's probably where I can envision myself working when I qualify at the moment, as a possibility at least. And I only got to spend 3 weeks there, so I thought I could go as a healthcare on A&E to learn more about it, get more experience, get exposed to more injuries and things that I currently struggle with. But sadly the process went on for a very long time between me and the bank office. Things were very much delayed, and at the point where I was finally to the point where they were saying, okay, you can go on the bank, you can go and do it now, it was literally like the end of February and just coming into everything with coronavirus. So I am nervous going back, because I have not only not got that extra experience that I thought I needed, I've also been away from everything for a year, and I'm going into my last final hardest year. So yeah, I'm definitely quite nervous in that respect now. I mean, I know I couldn't have done placement anyway. If I'd been on the course this year, I would have had to postpone the placement at least for a year until next year because of my mum's situation. But yeah, so that's why I went on this gap year. It hasn't worked out as I thought, and yeah, I mean, I just hope that even just being away and having sort of this recuperation period might have done me some good, and it might make it a bit better for me in 3rd year, even though I haven't actually been able to do what I wanted. Let's hope so anyway. So if you are a student nurse and you're struggling at all, or you're feeling really stressed or having any trouble on the course, you know, just keep going as best you can, because you're going to get there, and I'm sure you're going to be a great nurse, have an amazing impact, and it is all going to be worth it in the end. So well done to anyone. God, I sound like a big head now because I'm a student nurse, but you know, I do think nurses are amazing. You know, some nurses are so incredible at their job and they just try so much and just want to help so much. So anyone who's got that, not even just in nursing, anyone who's got that sort of drive to help and like do good and do the best you can at things, then like, you're fab, well done. So yeah. Yes, and that extends now to nurses that have been working during this pandemic. I can't relate to how it's been. I have friends who've told me all about it, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know how hard it's been, because as much as I know how hard it can be being a student nurse and being, you know, on placement and things, I know it doesn't compare at all to the circumstances that nurses have found themselves in right now. So yeah, just absolutely amazing what all of the student nurses and qualified nurses have been doing during this pandemic, and obviously all the other healthcare staff, the healthcare assistants, the doctors, the cleaners, you know, the play therapists, everyone like that. yeah, I can't imagine what it would have been like, and I think I would have really struggled and found it really difficult and scary. Like, everyone is so grateful, even if the government aren't, even if they're not showing it with the pay situation. Yeah, you have all done amazing, and thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm sure it's from the bottom of everyone else's heart, but as a student nurse myself, I can relate to some degree, and I can only, even as a fragment, imagine how very difficult and stressful this would have been as a student. So thank you so much for doing that, anyone who's been able to do it. Wise words from Casey. Thanks so much for watching. I'm sorry that this video has just literally been me sitting here, also talking quite quietly because it's quite late at night. I have makeup on because I have been out for food tonight that was really nice, so see, you do get some free time. But yeah, best go to bed now. So if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Okay, so all of what I've just said at the end of that video applies now. Anything else you'd like to know, please put it in the comments. When I go into third year, I will do a lot of videos about uni, about third year, about nursing. Please give this video a like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. It's been really weird looking back on myself. Yeah, it really has given me a lot to think about, a lot to mull over. It's made me feel that passion and that drive again in me for nursing, so I am really excited now, like even more so than I was before I watched this video, to go back. So yeah, I'll see you soon, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!